Intense speculation about the health, of course, of the Princess of Wales. Not been seen for a very long time. But yesterday, Mother's Day, a photograph of her with her 3 children, and suddenly it's been withdrawn. Now, I'm joined by Tom Bower, royal biographer on Harry, Meghan, King Charles, and a keen observer of these things. Tom, I cannot remember ever an official photograph being withdrawn and being effectively declared null and void. And this all comes down to the doctoring of the picture. So what were they trying to do here?
Well, there was Kate, unfortunately. Look, this is a woman who's very ill, who's suffered major surgery, needs a long time to recuperate, and is still suffering. And she's under enormous pressure with all this. You've got to show yourself. You've got to be. Where are you? Are you suffering?
And of course, all the speculation on the internet as to what may be wrong.
Exactly. And what she needed were wise men, both in Kensington Palace, in Buckingham Palace, and Downing Street, to protect her from all this harangue, or all these ghouls, all these absolute mischief makers. And they failed her. So they said, look, let's have a photograph. So William takes a photograph. And the problem with William is he doesn't like taking advice at all. And when he does, it's the wrong advice. He, like his father, likes yes men in his entourage. And none of them actually would have dared say, don't let Kate start doctoring the pictures as she likes to do.
So the answer would have been to say to PA or somebody, send one of your photographers in and do a snap.
They're just terrified that they're not in control. And I don't blame them completely, because they're harangued all the time, they're under enormous pressure, so they all the time feel, we want to control everything. But you can't control everything, because you can't anticipate this sort of problem. And so she comes up with this ridiculous thing, well, I like doctoring, I like playing with my Adobe. It doesn't work in the real world. Well, it does ring true because it's so naive. I mean, she's a sick woman. Clearly, she thought, I want the picture to look better.
Tom, when you say she's a sick woman, how sick do we really think she is?
I think she's seriously sick. She'll recover, but she needs time. She needs a gap from the pressure. And that's what's so unfair, that in the end, this is a woman who really embodies the best of British principles. She's a wonderful ambassador for Britain and for the royal family. Yeah. And she just needed a break. And people aren't willing to give her that break, and that's really awful.
So William's judgment is seriously in question here.
Yes, he should have protected her. He should have said no. And her staff, her senior private secretary should have said no. The cabinet secretary should have said no. And Buckingham Palace should have said no. But the trouble is that King Charles is ill, and his private secretary isn't much good either. And so they've led themselves into this ridiculous PR catastrophe, which will blow over. It's not the end of the world. But will they learn a lesson from it? That's the question.
Will they resolve it by now having a photograph taken by somebody else?
I don't think so. I think the best thing is that she's left to recover properly until sometime after Easter. The photograph was lovely. What did it matter if the hand was in the wrong place? But, you know, the agencies have their rules and they're quite right to enforce them. It shouldn't have got that far. That's the problem. What it shows is this is a storm in a teacup. The real problem is something much worse could happen down the line. Who's going to guard the royal family from making those mistakes much more seriously?
No, well, that's obviously very, very important. And also, I mean, you know, we've talked before about the slimmed-down monarchy. Well, there isn't much of it left at the moment, really.
There isn't, and that's the problem. And they're constantly under pressure from Meghan and Harry, who are constantly sniping from Montecito. Every week they're looking for a story just to undermine their relations here. And that puts even more pressure on them. And there's no doubt that King Charles, I thought today when he did his Commonwealth address, which was very, very important, he didn't look well at all. You know, the truth is he's not taking natural herbs and things. He's clearly on the real hard stuff.
So are you suggesting, Tom Bower, that our king is rejecting normal medical advice and going for pills and potions?
Pills and potions? No, I don't think he is. I think the whole natural medicine thing, which he's advocated for years, coffee enemas to cure cancer, he's put to the dustbin. He's going for the real medicine now.
You think he is?
I think he is, and that's why he looks so peaky, to say the least. And he tried his hardest today. I think there's a lot of sympathy for him, rightly so. But, you know, he's going through a very tough time, too. I mean, he's 75. He's facing mortality, too. His wife is clearly tired as well from it all. You know, we make great demands on these people who are not elected. They're born into the job. We welcome the monarchy. We want a monarchy. But at the moment, it's just not going.
They used to share the burden. But of course, you've got Andrew out of it, Harry disappeared, the Queen, as you say, there are limits to what she can do.
Yeah.
The King ill, Princess Anne in her early 70s. I mean, apart from the Duke of Edinburgh, who was 60 at the weekend, there's almost no one left, is there?
Well, there isn't, and the real problem is it is a crisis. There's no doubt about it, because we're used to seeing the royal family spread across the kingdom every day, and now we're going to have to get used to something far more limited.
And charities particularly rely upon them, don't
Charities, but also housing associations, hospitals, local government, the army, the military services, they all rely on the royal family to embody the best of British values. That is a problem now, and that, unfortunately, hasn't been made better by what's happened in the last 24 hours.
So the fiasco, and let's call it a fiasco, because that's what it is.
Yes.
They've got this completely wrong in every way. Will they learn lessons from it?
Only if they change staff. If they can only get wise people back into the palaces who understand. But, I mean, it's a top-down problem. I mean, the problem is King Charles does not take no for an answer. He only wants yes men. Prince William, unfortunately, has followed his father. Otherwise, he's too headstrong. He wants to create a different monarchy. So that leaves us...
Well, William, not even sure he wants to be the head of the established church.
Well, exactly. I mean, all these things that dribble out. He is a man who thinks he can modernise the monarchy.
Oh, dear.
And, exactly. That is a great problem.
It sounds like an enormous problem, Tom Bower, as ever. Absolutely fascinating.